Thank you, Pekka. In his presentation today, Pekka has given us a great context for the industry and for Nokia over the next few years as we rise to the challenge of maximizing shareholder return. In my session, I will share a longer term perspective on our industry and Nokia's strategy to address this evolution. At Nokia, we envision that the telecommunications market will have three technology waves. The first wave represents system performance. We have been operating in this wave for decades. System performance is about driving capacity and coverage across generations of fixed, wireless, and backbone technologies. It's about simultaneously optimizing a set of complex parameters: tower, power, air, and light. Or, in other words, optimizing the site and tower loading, power consumption, spectrum, and optical resources. There have been major evolutionary shifts in the industry while we've ridden this first wave. For instance, the introduction of the smartphone. The smartphone changed the fundamental metric we use to measure performance. We moved from cost per Erlang to now cost per bit. But I would argue these evolutionary shifts have all been very much grounded within the paradigm of system performance. We are now seeing the signs that system performance alone is not enough, and a second wave is emerging. We call this wave software agility. In the second wave, the focus on the industry is on being able to deliver new functionality at a rapid pace on web scaled network platforms. This is done through high performance software. This is not to say that system performance thinking will be lost in the second wave of software agility. The cost per bit KPI will certainly remain relevant. However, other performance metrics like the levels of software automation and software monetization will gain in importance. I firmly believe the eventual winners of the 5G race will be the set of players who can ride this wave of software agility. The first wave of system performance may have lasted decades, but the next two waves are arriving in quick succession. We can soon expect software agility to be joined by a third wave, which we call network now as a service. In a way, this is already true in the consumer space. You and I don't pay for a part of the network as an asset, but rather for a service that we subscribe to. Similarly, enterprises today already consume traditional VPNs and other such static applications through the as a service model. However, as alluded to earlier in Pekka's presentation, we see a future where enterprises will move away from paying for systems and specific performance bound KPIs. Instead, they will buy automated services with discrete outcomes. For instance, a trucking company, they could subscribe to a location transparent service API that allows it to optimize logistic environments through precise positioning of its assets. This would fundamentally change our industry. Instead of selling integrated systems, we would transition to providing outcome based services. So, where are we now? As I mentioned earlier, we're already seeing encouraging movement towards Wave 2. Wave 3, however, isn't far behind. We see early signs of Wave 3 being driven by the widespread adoption of 5G, growing enterprise digitalization, and eager web scalers entering the fray. From a Nokia standpoint, we're poised to progress through these waves, and as this evolutionary marathon unfolds, we aspire to emerge as winner in this race. You have heard Pekka talking about the importance of critical networks transforming societies. The three waves of technology evolution will be the key building blocks of critical networks. As we move from wave to wave, more elements of the critical network will emerge. During this transition, there will be two prominent inflection points that I'd like to talk to you about today. The first inflection point, this represents the shift from networks enabling consumer connectivity to the growth of industrial or enterprise networks for industrial IoT use cases. The shift is marked by the confluence of the world of information and communication technologies, or ICT, with the world of operational technologies, or in other words, OT. This requires the high performing systems in the OT industry to be transformed with the help of agile software and networks from the ICT industry to create a digital, connected enterprise. It is about the creation of a cyber physical landscape that merges the two domains. Importantly, this is also the shift which makes it necessary for the value chain to migrate from a system thinking to an application first mindset. The second inflection. This represents the shift from agile, but still very much engineered networks to frictionless networks, where new levels of innovations are possible on top of easily consumable networks. Today, performance critical applications are dependent on networks specifically engineered on pre agreed SLAs and KPIs. In the future, critical applications will be executed via network instantiation through simple intent based API calls in an as a service model. This will make critical networks frictionless. And these as a service business models will enable more rapid experimentation and integration into enterprise applications, allowing the network to be consumed like cloud services are consumed today. Enterprises today appreciate as a service option. This helps them speed the digital transformation of their business. It reduces their risk, it reduces their capex, and they're able to flexibly simply adjust and scale at will. In summary, as you will hear multiple times across today's events, critical networks will play an increasingly important role in society and in the economy. To achieve this, we will need to hit two critical milestones: complementing consumer connectivity with industrial connectivity, and followed by the emergence of frictionless networks enabling an as a service business model. Those inflection points will mark our progress through the waves of system performance to software agility and then network as a service. At Nokia, we have a leading role to play across all these waves. Our new strategic commitments will shape these three waves and leverage them to create new value. You had Pekka mention them earlier, but they deserve repetition. Our first commitment is to be a trusted partner for critical networks. Nokia's value creation opportunities come from deep partnerships with our customers, be they CSPs, enterprises, or increasingly web scale players. Best performance at the lowest TCO remains the top priority for our customers, and be rest assured that this will remain constant across the three waves. Our customers increasingly look to build their critical networks based on a best of breed approach. And to address that, we commit to focus on technology leadership in each of our businesses. In the subsequent waves, as the world evolves to solve industrial use cases on the back of increased software velocity, the ability to capitalize on those trends will decide the winners. This would constitute Nokia's third commitment, and that is to capture the value shift to cloud and to new business models. And finally, the foundation of the technology innovation within these three waves is underpinned by research and intellectual property creation. And here, Nokia commits to create value with long term research and intellectual property generation. With our world renowned research arm, Nokia Bell Labs, Nokia has an edge which very few, if any, can match in the industry. In the next few slides, I will try and provide an overview of our focus areas and our capabilities that will allow us to execute against the three waves and our strategic commitments. The focus in the first wave, as we saw, is to optimize power, tower, air, and light, and ultimately to provide the best cost per bit for our customers. We have a strong position here. Nokia has a wide portfolio across mobile and fixed access, IP and optical, and transport networks. We draw our differentiation through custom hardware accelerators for specific workloads like L1 processing in RAN, IP packet processing in routing, coherent encoding and decoding in optical, and also high speed signal processing for fixed networks. Our leading system performance is visible in many areas, including our number one position in performance in LTE globally, our positive 5G NSA performance for dual connectivity networks in a very competitive South Korean landscape, as well in our FP generations of chipsets in IP routing, which have continued to lead the industry in capacity and density. Further, we have always pushed the limits of performance. Nokia Bell Labs has demonstrated over 1 petabit per second transmission on optical fiber, multimodal optical fiber. And we have successfully demonstrated world's first 100 gig PON together with Vodafone. We will continue to take advantage of the latest developments in silicon process technology. And you will hear more about this from my colleagues Tommy and Federico in their presentations. In addition to custom silicon, advanced software is vital for optimizing overall system performance, ensuring high reliability and operationalizing specialized capabilities. A good example here is the SROS operating system used for IP/MPLS. It is a field proven, feature rich, and highly resilient software that powers Nokia's extensive portfolio of leading routing and switching products. And that, my friends, is only one of many such examples. And finally, resource optimization also plays an important role in pushing the limits of physical performance across wireless, fixed, and optical domains. Novel spectrum optimization approaches like massive MIMO, vectoring for DSL, and coherent optical probabilistic constellation shaping, or in other words, PCS, are eminent Bell Labs inventions. Nokia and Nokia Bell Labs have been behind many of the fundamental innovations that make up the industry we are in today. In this first wave, it is imperative that we continue that momentum by innovating in new technologies. For instance, advanced wireless spectrum efficiency techniques like distributed massive MIMO or optimizing the optical performance through spatial division multiplexing. As we look at system performance, we are aware that in certain domains we are clear leaders, while in others we must regain our leadership position. I can assure you today that there is a good amount of recognition, leadership, and investment commitment in the company in order to achieve just that. In the second wave, there are enabling technologies that must be adopted to achieve the desired software agility. One aspect of this is a shift towards greater functional disaggregation and what we talk about is openness, as typified by ORAN. Nokia has demonstrated a strong commitment to ORAN and has leveraged the web scale ecosystem, like the announcements we made earlier this week, with AWS, Microsoft, and Google Cloud platforms for implementing workloads in radio access networks, core, and in other parts of the network. Open architectures and open interfaces have been the key to our fixed networks business as well. We have been the pioneers for software defined access networks, and we have fostered industry initiatives such as BAA or Broadband Access Abstraction. Next, central to software agility is the full adoption of cloud native principles. This is important. Today, Nokia Container Services can be used for deploying, orchestrating, monitoring, and managing containers and container based applications for telco cloud use cases. in private clouds, in public clouds, and on bare metal, what we like to call on any cloud. Raga will talk more about that. As cloud computing in all market segments move towards containerized workloads and microservice based applications, cloud solutions like the Nokia container services offer greater agility and granular scalability for CSPs to be able to deploy their network. Finally, on this wave, one of the benefits of software agility in the network is that network functions can dynamically scale in and out as applications. This means we can place network workloads in their optimal cloud locations, thereby reducing latency, improving reliability, and optimizing overall traffic. And as automation systems become increasingly sophisticated, as Pekka alluded to, we're tapping into the power of artificial intelligence to manage that complexity. These capabilities will be critical in the realm of 5G network slicing, which is a foundational step in the move towards a digitally connected enterprise. Talking about Wave 3, network as a service. Network resources will be consumed as easily and as elastically as today's cloud services, driving new value in the industry. In addition, traditionally engineered network systems will give way to what we talked about frictionless networks. This allows critical applications to run seamlessly through simple intent based API calls. The key to as a service delivery is the ability to shrink wrap complex combinations of network functions in an easy to consume service. Many different network as a service offerings are possible from both service providers and from network vendors such as ourselves. Today, Nokia is already offering NDAC, Nokia Digital Automation Cloud, for private wireless networking and for automation services. We also offer Ring, or Worldwide IoT Network Grid, which serves IoT core connectivity needs, spanning continents and operator networks globally. As we look to the future, we can see transport connectivity as a service, network slice as a service, edge cloud and analytics as a service, endpoint security as a service, and many such offers that service providers will open to developers and broader innovation ecosystems. The end goal of all this automation is to provide many high impact industrial outcomes as a service. There are almost an unlimited number of industrial services that could be offered in such a way: drone surveillance, asset tracking, digital twinning, robotic control, AR VR overlays, and a combination of some of those and other critical communications. For instance, logistic players could subscribe to a precision asset tracking service, or a power grid company might decide to leverage drone surveillance as a service. A series of simple API calls can trigger the orchestration of many network domains and cloud resources, delivering the specific outcomes desired by a specific industry at a specific instance. Examples like this illustrate how the market opportunity during this third wave will be significant, transformative, opening the door to new innovative business models as well as new innovators in the industrial ecosystem. At Nokia, we will help our service provider customers to open their networks to enable these industrial outcomes as a service and provide these solutions directly to enterprises as well. This will be an exciting transformation for an industry, a transformation that will build on the previous waves of superior system performance, higher software agility, and then to network as a service. The three technology evolution waves we have laid out there are the foundation of the underlying leadership ambition of Nokia's four business groups that Pekka talked about. It is important to note that each business group is in a different stage of this transformative journey. Let's start with mobile networks. The immediate priority here is to continue our 5G performance renewal and to reach an industry leading level of system performance. This is paramount for us. And as we do this, we will need to ensure that we leverage the evolving trends towards virtualization, cloud agility, and open ecosystems. I repeat, the winners in this race will only be determined once the 5G trajectory has completely unfolded beyond the current consumer focused offerings. And important to note, the software agility will be the key differentiator here. Let's talk about network infrastructure. Here, we need to continue to iterate and sustain our already established leadership position in system performance. And in parallel, we need to progress on the automation and orchestration aspects of our IP optical and fixed access portfolios towards market leadership. In the markets that our Cloud and Network Services business group addresses, there is already a strong push towards Wave 2 and increasingly strong push towards Wave 3. Nokia is rapidly evolving with the market needs here. Cloud and Network Services business will be spearheading Nokia's ongoing cloud native evolution and will lead Nokia's business model evolution towards as a service. And finally, Nokia Technologies. Their strong intellectual property licensing program will continue to be powered by Nokia Bell Labs and the research assets we generate there, as well as we generate these assets in other Nokia business groups. We need to ensure our leadership is sustained here as we see the industry evolve across the three waves by ensuring that we maintain our long term thinking in asset generation. We will hear from the four BG presidents later today on all these aspects. With that, I would like to thank you for listening. And it is now my pleasure to pass it to Marco Beren, our Chief Financial Officer.